The wait is over. Dive into Audible's most anticipated collection, The Best of 2025, featuring top audiobooks, podcasts, and originals across all genres. Our editors have carefully curated this year's must-listens, from brilliant hidden gems to the buzziest new releases. Every title in this collection has earned its spot. This is your go-to for the absolute best in 2025 audio entertainment. Whether you love thrillers, romance, or nonfiction, your next favorite listen awaits. Discover why there's more to imagine when you listen at audible.com/bestoftheyear.
Stop and start. Touch the paint. It's in the air.
And now, talking all things Boston Celtics.
What dreams are made of.
The Sports Hub Celtics Show on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Brought to you by Shaw's and Star Market, Delta Dental of Massachusetts, and Corona. Now, Gasper and Murray.
It's a little earlier than you normally would. It's just kind of like one of those.
Yeah, it's just one of those nights. It's not our nights. We've played some good basketball, had an understanding of when we're at our best. Tonight we got a taste of when we're not at our best. So, we got to get back to work, continue to work at it. But, yeah, it's just one of those. It's just not our night. We move on to the next one.
And that was Joe Mazzulla after the Celtics lose Thursday night to the Milwaukee Bucks. They played 6 games in 9 days. They won 5 in a row, and then they had 3 days off before they took on the Bucks on Thursday. And if you didn't happen to watch, well, they end up losing 116-101. You're like, well, maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo went off. Oh, no. No, he did not play. They lost to a Giannis-less Bucks that was led by Kyle Kuzma and Bobby Portis.
Bobby Portis went off in this game,
right?
Particularly in the second half.
Bucks shot 58% from the field, 45% from three as a team, and they in the second half they really went off. 63% from the field, 58% from three in that second half alone. So yeah, kind of what was this? Was it rust? And Maz was talking about this yesterday. And I agree. It does feel like after being wildly entertaining to watch during some of that 5-game winning streak, felt like their play style had kind of shifted post that ugly loss to Utah, going back about a month back. Felt like it's these numbers for the threes are starting to tick up a little bit here in recent games, which I find concerning, and I thought they shot too many the other night in this loss.
So, yes, and that's why I wanted to play that clip off the top, because it speaks to something that I'm a little bit frustrated with Joe Mazzulla. And you weren't here last week when we did the Sports Hub Celtics show, but one of the things we sort of talked about was J.J. Redick had these comments after the Celtics shot the lights out. They shot 53% from three against the Los Angeles Lakers in that victory. And there were these comments from J.J. Redick saying, well, if you go by expected stats, we actually win this game by 2. Basically saying the Celtics shooting was an aberration. You didn't hear anything like that from Joe, and we kind of made fun of J.J. Redick for saying that. Like, oh, the Lakers actually won the game. But here you have this game, where the Celtics were 11 of 23 from 3 in the first half, 3 of 26 in the second half, and 0 for 16 in the third quarter. And instead of it sort of being just water coming back to its level, or you look at it and say there were too many threes in it, it's Joe saying, shrug, it wasn't our night.
Yeah.
So is that the way you're going to run the team? And also, why don't you say when you beat the Lakers, why do you talk about getting good looks and how good the offense was? Why don't you just say, well, it was just our night? So when you shoot the lights out, it's by design. When you shoot poorly, it's just shrug, not our night. Nice. It has nothing to do with anything.
It's a nice built-in excuse for it.
It is. And that goes back to something I've talked about before of, okay, got it. You can say it's not your night, fine. But while that's happening, in the third quarter of that game against the Bucks, and you're shooting 0 for 16 from 3 in that quarter, what adjustments are being made to try and compensate for that? Or you're just going to shrug your shoulders and say, well, some of these should go in, and if they don't, it's not our night, and we lose. And my issue with that, during the regular season, it's not that big a deal. But my issue with that is that I've seen that same attitude, in my opinion, in playoff series, including last year against the Knicks, where it's just like, well, the numbers will even out. It's not our night. And in the regular season, you can get away with that. But in a 7-game playoff series, if you just shrug your shoulders and let a game get away from you because you're not going to try anything else and it's just not your night, you're going to end up losing to lesser talented teams, which is exactly what has happened in 2 of the 3 seasons that he's been the coach.
So point is, Joe Mazzulla is still part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not from a coaching. He's done an excellent job with his team, with the rotations, getting the motivation, putting Minot in the rotation as a small ball center. What's happened with Jordan Walsh? Joe deserves a ton of credit for that. But look, I wrote a column saying he's too slow to adjust, and I got a lot of criticism for that. People thought that it was unfair to Joe. Some people thought it was, honestly, believe it or not, because I get accused of this in the other direction, people thought it was racist against Joe. And it's like, he just showed you exactly what I'm talking about in that game. Did he call any plays to try and get something going to the basket? Would you, and I know they don't do this a lot, would you decide to run something where you post up Jaylen Brown at the elbow and see what happens? Just something to break up what's happening offensively, or are you just going to keep shooting threes and hoping that they go in? And the other thing I'd use in this, just to show you that it can change, is one thing I did like from Joe in that game was when it was starting to get away from him, like early in the fourth quarter, he immediately banged a timeout. Now, it didn't end up working, but he banged it. Do you remember his first year? He wouldn't do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and he said there's no correlation between these timeouts and what, and that's true.
Well, these math-driven guys, sort of cut you off, typically don't believe in momentum or trying to stop a run. I feel like he's been forced into learning that.
I agree. But now he does that, and there's a reason that's done, because there's like a human element to it. And it's something Derek White said earlier in the season when he was asked after a practice about a comment Joe had. Essentially, I forget the exact phrase, B-Rob, you might remember it, but basically he was asked something about the idea of just seeing the ball go through the basket when you're missing from three, and he said something like that's like a comfort or like a cop-out, or he used like some word like that. And then they asked Derek White about it, and he was like, well, no, sometimes you do just need to see the ball go through the basket. There is still a human element to this, and when they were shooting 0 for 16 from three, they just needed to see the ball go through the basket to maybe change the momentum.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just shrug, not our night, oh well, we'll get him next time.
B-Rob, what say you?
Yeah, it was bizarre, because the first 18 minutes of that game, everything was like humming.
Oh, yeah.
And so for that to like kind of have the bottom fall like that, it's one game. I'm bigger picture wise, I'm much more pleased in terms of what we're seeing right now. I'm gonna let that game be a one-off, but I agree with Chris from the standpoint of like, you want to get more maybe creative in those moments. Like, this is the cop out is saying, oh, it's just not our night shooting threes. It's like, all right, well, you're facing the Bucks without Giannis. Find other ways to win if the threes aren't falling in those
Thank
games.
you. That's all I'm asking for. It's not about the result. It's about the attitude. My issue is not about the result. You're going to have nights like that in the NBA. It's the attitude and the inconsistency. When we shoot, you can have an aberration. We have that imaging that says that's an aberration. I freely admit. So you can have an aberration on either side. The way they shot against the Lakers was an aberration on the positive side. The way they shot against the Bucks was an aberration on the negative side. But if you come to me as a logical human being and try and tell me when it's an aberration for the positive, it's all you and planned, and it's your offense and your players, and it's all by design, and when it's an aberration in the negative, it's just there's nothing you can do about it, and we just move on, that's not being honest with yourself, and that's not being genuine about the game and about the way games go and games are played.
Yeah, and also, was it an aberration in like, hey, what are you going to do when it's an off night when it comes to the rebounding? Because the Bucks were statistically the worst rebounding team in the league going into that game, averaging just 39.1 per game, and they out-rebound the Celtics 40-39. That's not a big disparity, but when you allow the worst rebounding team in the league to beat you on the boards, it's not a good look. So it is that too. Did he comment on that after and say, well, not our night, or is it also a bigger picture problem that they don't have a decent big or enough bigs on this team?
Yeah, so that one I thought was one of those, it's like one of 82 sort of, effort things. And we're going to play this coming up. We have some sound from Jaylen Brown talking about that. I feel like, that was more, I don't put that on Joe, I guess is my point. I don't think that's really fair in terms of, that was the guys, letting go of the rope. And I don't put that one on Joe in terms of the rebounding. Okay. I think that was on the players and maybe feeling a little too good about themselves and feeling that against a team without Giannis and the way they played in the first half against the Bucks, that they could just kind of cruise on into the finish line. I don't blame Joe for that one.
All right, well, you want to get on, talk Celtics? Now is the time to do it here on the Sports Hub Celtics Show until 1 p.m. 617-779-0985 is the phone number. We'll get to more of your calls and some sound from Jaylen Brown coming up next.
This is the Sports Hub Celtics Show.
Hi, it's Amanda Meads from Rapid Flow Sewer and Drain Cleaning here with my daughter Mia. Mia, can you guess how many years your pa has been leading Boston's #1 drain company?
40.
Wow, you nailed it on the first try. At Rapid Flow, it's our experience that sets us apart from every other drain company you'll hear on the radio. And this year, we're celebrating 40 years. Our no-dig pipelining service will ensure you never have a backup at your home or business again. So call 800-286-FLOW or visit rapidflowinc.com and tell them, Mia.
With Rapid Flow, one call solves it all.
He's about a month back.
Yeah, it was after the Brooklyn game.
Yeah. It's Jaylen Brown there talking after Thursday night's loss in Milwaukee to the Bucks about having the right mindset. Is that him being upset with some of his teammates, you think, or is it something else?
I think it's more like a gentle reminder. You know, when your parents would be like, hey, don't do this. I think it's more like that. He doesn't want them to lapse. And I don't think it's an angry, sort of like after the Brooklyn game where it was like, look, if you're going to show up like that, don't even show up. This was more like, we've had some success. We'd won 10 of 12, 5 in a row. But let's remember who we are. We're a team that has to win at the margins to be successful. Let's not forget how we got here. It was more like a gentle reminder. You know, like your parents, like, okay, remember, you have to brush your teeth before you go to bed. You know, one of those.
Yeah.
Not like you're getting a beating.
Yeah, D's or F's in this house, to which, by the time I got to ninth grade, I'm like, I mean, what do you want? Like, they're not F's. I mean, be happy with that. At least I'm not failing. Huh, guys? He had another 30-point game in this loss, seventh time in 8 games. Finished, again, 30 points, 10 of 17 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3. He truly has been leading the way. He's having an awesome season.
He is. He's having a great season.
B-Rob, anything else? Positives, you mentioned, I think it was Chris, actually. So the Jordan Walsh thing has been
unbelievable.
He's been an enormous factor here, right? So they're now producing at the point where I thought that they probably would be. There's the stretch there. It's like I feel like they're underachieving, and you look at the landscape of the East, it's nice to see them in the mix here. But, again, I've been off these last couple of weeks. Just some overall other thoughts on the team here.
Yeah, this was like the one bump in the road. Like everything you wanted to, especially that win in Toronto last Sunday, like that was coming off 3 and 4 nights, 6 and 9 days, and they still find a way to win a game like that in crunch time. So the signs are there. Minot, Jordan Walsh, Hugo Gonzalez, you're getting what you want to see from all the role guys. Derek White and Payne Pritchard have kind of rounded back into form from a shooting standpoint before this Bucks game. So it's right there for them. And now, I don't know, I mean, you guys have seen these clips of Tatum playing one-on-one and stuff like that. Yeah. So, that's not that's approaching anytime soon. I think we're looking still at months away from him possibly returning. But you always wonder, okay, is this team going to be playing well enough to, justify him coming back and playing this year if he's ready to go? And the answer is very much less when you look at what this team's doing and looking at the rest of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, speaking of, too, so I think that last time I was here, again, it was prior to Thanksgiving. They lose to Brooklyn on the 21st, and you got Jaylen Brown basically calling out some of his teammates after the game without naming names. And I remember we had Chris Forsberg on at the time, and I was like, well, now they get this gauntlet coming up. They have Orlando, Detroit, who at the time I think had won, 13 straight?
Yeah.
Minnesota, Cleveland, New York, and I was like, well, coming out of this, what do you think their record's going to be? I'm like, if it's close to 500, I think you should be happy with that. Well, they beat Orlando. They stopped Detroit's winning streak. They ended up losing to Minnesota. But the two ones that were impressive to me were the wins at Cleveland and then that New York game here on the second, especially with the way that they started. I think Jaylen Brown had 6 turnovers or whatever the hell, 4 or whatever it was in the first quarter. It's like, oh, they're going to get run out of the gym tonight. And he ends up going off for 42. Like, that to me might have been their most impressive win of the year. And that also, to me, spoke to the landscape of the East. And it's like, well, if you can play at this level, you can compete with any of these other teams in what I think is a down East this year.
Yeah, the East is wide open. There's no question about that. And if you get Jason Tatum back, you have as good a chance as that. You might be the favorite.
Right.
I mean, if you get Jason Tatum back at this point in the East, they're playing really, really well. There's no question about that. And you like to see what they're doing. They're third in the East, 15 and 10, tied with Orlando right there. You really want to see what they're doing in terms of being a team that's difficult to play against. The offense has been better, I believe, than what we expected. I guess my question for you, B-Rob, is it's amazing what some of these lineups have done with Jordan Walsh in there. how real, how sustainable do you think the Jordan Walsh thing is? Even if the shooting goes away, from what you've seen, that impact that he's able to have, do you feel like that's here to stay?
I think it is, because the man plays hard. And he's, whether it's guarding the other team's best player, whether it's like rebounding, crashing on the offensive glass or the defensive glass, like that stuff, no matter what, that's going to be consistent. The shooting will come and go, but they don't necessarily need him for that. Like, it's a nice bonus right now. He's shooting like 80% in the month of December. Like, it's insane numbers. But even if that drops down to 40, 50%, like, especially once Jason Tatum comes back, it's like, this is the guy that's going to take pressure off Jaylen Brown, take pressure off Jason Tatum, because those guys aren't going to have to be guarding the best player on the other team anymore, and they can focus more on the offensive end of the floor. And I think that's honestly this breakout that Jaylen Brown has had, where he's scoring 30+ a night that you mentioned, Jim, over the last 8 of the last 9 games. Like, I think Jordan Walsh deserves some credit for that, because Jordan Walsh is out there, getting after it defensively every night, and so Jaylen's got some energy to go on the offense.
Anthony and Natick, first up here on the Sports Hub Celtics show this afternoon. Hello, Anthony.
Hey, Jim, before I talk about my love-hate relationship with Joe Mazzulla, I have to give complete blame to you and Joe Murray about talking about tacos for the last week, man. I went on a late-night Taco Bell run last night, something I never do, man. And the only way that I got through it without feeling guilty was I just kept hearing Big Jim, Joe Murray's mantra that, it was okay, and I was just trying to get fat. So I got to blame you on that one, man.
It's the winter time, Anthony. It's okay to get a little fluffy over the next couple of months.
I'll tell you though, man, it was good. But anyways, I got to tell you, I love Mazzulla's craziness, his 5 coins, his nutsness. I get into that. I find him entertaining. The part I just can't get over is it's like addiction with him, man. Like in these games when the threes are going up, I don't think he can help himself. Like I really don't. Like obviously, we've been talking all year that somebody pulled him aside and made them temper down the amount they were taking, because they did lower them. They're still taking too many, I think. But, yes, they're taking less. They were back up around 50 the other night. And a lot of times, last thing I'll say about it, a lot of times when you look at it, if it's coming off of a play, right, if there's a screen or they're running a play and it's in rhythm, there's nothing wrong with that. But when they're forcing them up an ISO ball, it's just like, come on, man. It's like every time I think I'm getting out, man, they suck me back in, man, with the play. I hope it's a one-off, like B-Rob said, and, I hope they don't continue on, but who knows.
But the numbers are ticking up these last few games on the threes.
Yeah, the numbers are ticking up the last couple of games on the threes. So after that Utah game where they had struggled a little bit, the numbers had gone down. They were shooting fewer than 43 pointers a game at one point, and now it's back up. So over their last 17 games, so these are the 17 games post-Utah, they are averaging at this point 41.5 three-pointers per game, which is the 4th most during that time period. I believe they're also 3rd overall in the NBA in three-pointers attempted per game. But there was a stretch there not too long ago where they were still like 5th or 6th, but they were averaging fewer than 43-point attempts a game. They were like in the 30s, high 30s. It was 39. So it doesn't sound like it's that big a difference, but it is starting to creep back up, and they're right on the heels of the Trailblazers during this time period that I'm talking about. So you just want to make sure that you don't fall in love with the 3-ball, because your team is built differently. And yes, they can absolutely have nights like they had against the Lakers. I'm not saying you should abandon the 3, but they can also have nights like they had in the second half against Milwaukee.
Without a doubt. And so it's like finding that balance of where I think they dropped to like 5th or 6th in the NBA in a 3-point attempts per game during that stretch you're talking about, Chris. And that feels right for this team. This team obviously taking threes. They've got the guys to do it with Pritchard and White kind of running back into form, but there are other ways to, diversify the offense more with movement that we've been seeing more of during this stretch. And now the offense, guys, it's better. I still can't believe it. It's better this season than last season. And you think about like the talent that's on this team compared to last year, like that's incredible right now, but it's not, and they're not shooting as well. It's because of other things. It's because they're hitting the offensive glass more. It's because they're not turning over the ball. So that's the stuff you hopefully see more of going forward here.
I think I already know the answer to this question. I'm going to ask it anyway, because last night was just, again, usually you can count on a game, whether it's from the Bruins or the Celtics, typically the Celtics on a Friday night. Is this little lack of games this week, is this because of the NBA Cup stuff?
Yep, 1,000%. Yeah, Doc Rivers talked about this. He thinks they should play the NBA Cup championship like during the All-Star game weekend. Yep, it's for this, as Felger would say, Fakakta NBA Cup.
No, he likes it.
No, I know he likes it. I'm just using for cocktails what the word he would. No, I know he likes it, even though he had no idea who was in the Celtics group and he didn't really know who was in Milwaukee's group. But yeah, he likes it.
I was out after the one season. That first season, I was like, okay, you know what? Because you immediately crapped on it, now rightfully so.
Because it was a gimmick.
It is a gimmick.
It's a gimmick,
and it's a hiccup in the schedule, and especially as a viewer, when you want a game on a Friday night, you're like, hey, what? Come on, like what? And they're not playing until Sunday, and it's during the NFL window. Like, come on, guys. It needs to be scheduled better. After that first season, I found it a little interesting. Didn't feel like those guys were playing at maybe a little bit of a higher playoff style level in some of those games. But now, oh, please. The thing is a dumb gimmick. You were right the whole time.
Yeah, I knew it. I mean, look, I wasn't just dumping on it to dump on it. And I've been consistent on the NBA Cup. It can change, and it's not even about the schedule. Just tell me what it means. Like, instead of just repackaging regular season, like, what does it mean? I win the NBA Cup, I'm automatically in the top 6 in my conference in the playoffs. Or I win the NBA Cup.
There's got to be real stakes.
Yeah, and if I'm not facing the number 1 seed in my conference, I get home court. Even if I'm the 6th seed, I'm playing the 3 seed, but we won the NBA Cup, so we have home court in our playoff series. It has to have something to do with ultimately what you're trying to achieve and what the ultimate aim of the season is. It just kind of can't be like, we're playing this, and if you win, you get some cash, a little trophy, and you get to say you won it.
And these floors, too. Sometimes you tune into some of these games, it's like, my eyes. Oh,
would you say they're kind of like the Fernando Mendoza of basketball courts?
Oh, yeah. No, really. It's all too much. All right, see you lined up. Couple open lines. You want to talk Celtics? Now's the time to do it. 617-779-0985. The number. We'll get to your calls next.
We'll have more of the Sports Hub Celtics show next.
Hi, it's Amanda Meads from Rapid Flow Sewer and Drain Cleaning here with my daughter Mia. Mia, can you guess how many years your pa has been leading Boston's #1 drain company?
40.
Wow, you nailed it on the first try. At Rapid Flow, it's our experience that sets us apart from every other drain company you'll hear on the radio. And this year, we're celebrating 40 years. Our no-dig pipelining service will ensure you never have a backup at your home or business again. So call 800-286-FLOW or visit rapidflowinc.com and tell them, Mia.
With Rapid Flow, one call solves it all.
All right, right to your calls. As we got about 20 minutes to go here in the Sports Hub Celtics show, mostly focusing on a game from a couple of nights ago, and we don't have another one until tomorrow evening because thanks to the NBA Cup. We want the cup, do you? Let's go to Bert in Berlin on the Celtics roster. Go ahead, Bert.
Yeah, hi, guys. I normally don't call in on Celtics takes, but given that it's a special occasion, whereas you both are in the studio today, I felt compelled. I said, "Wow, this doesn't happen often, so let's call in." But no, good show, guys.
Thanks.
No, the Celtics might be onto something here in that maybe the new model for the NBA is to play high-effort G League players during the regular season and stash away your 1 or 2 superstars for when it counts. I mean, they're winning on effort, and in the regular season, hey, it's been shown to work, and so at least they're keeping it interesting, and I think it might be the wave of the future. With all these teams trying to cut back on salaries, hey, let's give it a try. It seems to be working.
Yeah, and that's good to a point, but it is still a star-driven league. And what happened last week when I was on here, and this is one of the things I would have talked about had I been here, but hey, this is Gasper Murray. It's the Haley's Comet of radio shows. It only comes around once every so often. We're all here. I kid, sort of. A star-driven league, if you paid an assload of money to see Lakers Celtics last Friday night, what is ostensibly LeBron's last game of the Garden, potentially a slimmer Luka Doncic, all of that. Marcus Smart now with the Lakers.
Did you see he had he made 8 threes the other night for them?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Mr. Hot and Cold. And now good luck with that. I wonder if he'll get a big head from that night. Point is, if you paid an assload of money for that game, which should be full of star power, and then you go into that night and it's guys like that the caller's mentioning, depth players, the best the Lakers can offer that night is like someone like Austin Reeves.
He's having a good year.
You feel ripped off, so sure. Yeah, like on a night-to-night basis, it's good to see guys like Gonzalez go off, the Jordan Walsh. you're paying, though, especially if you're going to these games, to see the stars. And that one in particular, I wasn't kidding, too. And it was funny. Like, Felger echoed it. I even think Grandy tweeted something about it, too. That's one, if I was Jeff Bezos, I would go to the league and say, like, guys, I can't have this. I'm now paying for these exclusive games here on Amazon, and this is what I'm getting. Like, you can't do this to me.
Yeah, no, that was obviously a really bad look for the team. But I understand what he's saying, and I do think the Celtics have forged an identity, though, based around, and that's what Jaylen Brown was getting at after that Milwaukee game, based around how hard they play and these energy guys. And Jaylen Brown was the one who went to Joe Mazzulla and said, hey, Jordan Walsh can be an asset for us. He can be a guy that guards other teams' best players and can give us a lift. My question for you, Jim, is do you think that if Tatum doesn't come back, and this is what the team is. It's Jaylen Brown. We haven't even talked about Derek White, who's been playing much better lately, which I think was the biggest catalyst in my mind for winning 10 out of 12. It was Derek White playing like Derek White. But if it's Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and I'll throw Peyton Pritchard in there, and a bunch of like effort guys, do you think that they can make a run, or do you think they're just the souped-up version of the Bridgies?
More column B than column A.
Okay.
They should win a playoff round, I think. Define a run, like go to the Eastern Conference Final. Yeah, maybe. That Pistons seems real good, young, but, I'd like to see them a little bit. I know they got into the playoffs last year and ended up having a decent series there with the Knicks, and I'd probably take them over the Celtics, but I don't know. Like, the Celtics certainly are more battle-tested. You have some of that championship core, a little bit of it still there. No, like right now you're the 3 in the East. That game against the Knicks told me so much again, more about the conference than anything else. They should be able to win a playoff round or two, even if Tatum doesn't come back. But I now expect him to come back.
The only reason I say that is just because we've seen some of this before, and it's had, a shelf life essentially of win until you get into the playoffs, which is a team that has, one really superstar player, it was Isaiah Thomas, now it's Jaylen Brown, and some other guys that are certainly talented, but not all-stars, and then a lot of guys that are edgy and kind of try hard.
Yeah.
And
it'll only get you so far.
I think this team's more talented than the Bridgie Celtics, the Bridgies as you call them. But I'm just saying it's one of those things where it will work in the regular season, but when you get to the playoffs and everybody's playing hard, that effort gap gets narrowed, and now it's more about talent.
How's that like 10 years ago, by the way?
I know.
Time goes so fast. Oh, my God. James in Randolph on the Seas. Hello, James.
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Good.
I'm a long-time listener. Chris, I feel like you're missing the point a little bit.
Okay.
I feel like when Jaylen Brown is going on runs and the Celtics are in struggle mode, he doesn't pass the ball enough. I feel like he has to take over the team and take over the scoring, but the ball doesn't pass around the court enough when they're struggling. I feel like the ball stays in Jaylen Brown's hands a lot, and if it's not Jaylen, it's either Peyton or Derek White doing the same thing.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I would agree that they don't move it. I'm glad you mentioned the other guys because I don't think it's just Jaylen. And Scal said the other night in the third quarter he thought that they were just matchup hunting and the ball wasn't moving enough because I didn't think the third quarter was like a Jaylen's not passing the ball issue. The ball wasn't moving as much as it should have, but they were taking the shots that they want to take. The problem is those were the shots the Bucks also wanted them to take, which is deep threes for Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard,
Yeah, and I was going to say in the third quarter, too, I feel like that's really when the ball really stopped moving.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And I feel like if they do more set plays for the dunker spots for like Minot or even Gonzalez, like those guys get open. Like they just got to look for them down there. They'd be open.
I agree with that. And I thought one of the best plays they had in the third, they had a Derek White, I believe it was Derek White, Nemish Keita pick and roll, and they got a dunk at the rim for Keita. And that's all I'm saying. Like when it's not going well and you're having multiple empty possessions, most of which are ending with long threes, just break it up with one possession. Hey, how about a pick and roll and try and get a rim run? As the caller said, how about you try and run something, again, maybe it starts at the high post and then you can force the defense into a decision where you're either getting a little bit of a drive, you're getting like a foul line jumper, or as he pointed out, you're getting somebody crashing in from the dunker spot who gets a look. That's my only point on it. I'm not saying change the entire identity and strategic approach of the team. I'm just saying when it starts to go left like that, why don't you just try and break it up with something that's a little different. Call a play that gets somebody to the rim. Maybe you get somebody to the foul line so that you can break the momentum of multiple empty possessions. I will just say quickly, though, one thing that drives me nuts about this team, and it's not just this team, it's been like this for 3 years. Get an offensive rebound, kick it out, and within 3 seconds, a shot has gone up from 25 feet. Yeah. That drives me insane. Like, you just earned another possession. Possessions are valuable. Let's see if we can get a better shot. If you might be able to, that shot you can get anytime. You might be able to get a more wide open 3. Maybe you can get a corner 3. But like, they will offensive rebound, kick it out, and a 3 goes up within 3 or 4 seconds. And I just want to scream.
We have Don and Carver on, Joe Mazzulla. Hello, Don.
Hi, guys. Nice talking to you again. Real simple observation here. First 3 quarters, let the 3-pointers fly from everywhere. That's fine. The fourth quarter, you make sure that fourth quarter is covered with guys who go to the basket. The guys that go to the basket need to be there in the fourth quarter, because the guys shooting the threes for the first 3 quarters are, they're clanging off the rim instead of going through the twine. And you just can't go a full game with 3-pointers always going in. And the fourth quarter is the time to bring in these guys that love to go to the basket and that'll shoot 10-footers. And that's pretty much it. Just it's pretty simple stuff, but that's the way I feel.
Thanks, Don. And it's also, when it's not just a Celtics thing. When a team is so 3 reliant, I just can't stand it as a viewer too. Even when they're dropping, from an aesthetic standpoint, it does nothing for me. James in Rehoboth on Joe Mazzulla. Hello, James.
Ahoy, hoy, gentlemen. Happy Saturday. 2 quick things. On Mazzulla, I'm really hoping you guys get this reference. I think you will. He reminds me in these press conferences of Ricky LaFleur's dad in Trailer Park Boys.
I haven't. I know of the show, James, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, it's just this quote that he has. He says, "It's just the way she goes. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it doesn't." It's this laissez-faire approach that, in his case, he's gambling. But it's like, that's what Mazzulla sounds like when he just sits there and tells us, we tried and didn't work tonight. Maybe next time. So I'm very happy you said that, Chris. I agree with your take. The other thing on the in-season tournament that I do not understand, I think it's based on these European leagues, like the soccer leagues.
It is.
In England.
Yes, that's where Adam
Cup,
Silver.
right?
Adam Silver's a big soccer fan, and that was a big part of the influence for him and the motivation for doing this. You're absolutely right. But go ahead.
Okay, but I listen to English sports talk radio, Talk Sport, and a lot of the talk is about how the teams don't care about those 2 cups anymore. The FA Cup had a lot of cachet because it's very old, but it's better for these teams to prioritize winning the league. That's what gets the money. So these in-season tournaments are falling by the wayside, and a lot of times they just put the kids out there for the first several rounds. So I don't know why the NBA is now picking it up. Thank you.
No, that's a great point that you raise. Like, there's stuff like, the FA Cup, still means something, and that's like an all divisions tournament in the UK. Where they play. I don't want to get out in front of my skis here because I don't know that much about it. But basically the idea is like it could be Chelsea versus some 3rd division team. It doesn't matter. And that's kind of cool, that Cinderella factor of it. But if you look at stuff like the Carabao Cup, which is basically like the League Cup, like those teams don't care about that. And I've said this before, the difference too over there is that you win the league, that's the champion. There's no playoffs. Right? And so a lot of coaches and organizations in North American sports can feign success by saying, well, we made the playoffs. Well, over there you can't. But the version they have is we won a trophy. So if you win this in-season tournament, it's like, well, trophies. We won this trophy. Right. We didn't win the league. Maybe we didn't qualify for Champions League, but we won a trophy. And that's their version of like a playoff thing. But here we have playoffs. So what is the point of this? What does it actually accomplish? And I just want to say, because the Don, when he was talking about the free throws, guess who's dead last in the league in free throw differential?
Celtics?
Yep, yeah. Minus 6.9. That's not a surprise. A lot of it's based on the way that they play, and I also feel like they don't get a lot of calls. Not to go all like, Tommy on you, God bless his soul, They don't get a lot of calls. I feel like that's a factor, part of it too. But that is something you have to look at as a team and sort of overcome, the fact that on a nightly basis, the opponent's going to shoot 7 more free throws than you.
I just like knowing that caller listens to British sports talk radio, too, and I'd like to know if there's a Felger and Maz equivalent across the pond. It's Oliver and Barnaby in the afternoons.
What would that sound?
This Mazzulla's a wanker. What he was doing last night left me absolutely gobsmacked, he did. Wayne and Yarmouth on the Celtics. Hello, Wayne.
That was good.
Good to hear you guys together. Of course, we're going to have to live with Mazzulla's focus on three-pointers and all the stat-related and how he perceives it and what's going to develop. Beyond that is hopefully Tatum getting back. And my question would be, when he does, do you guys think it makes sense with White coming on strong and Pritchard kind of fading a little, that Pritchard go back to a sixth-man concept? And maybe we've got a better mix of things in that regard. I don't know.
Where is he? He's coming back, right, B-Rob? There's no way, even if they wanted to hold him back. I mean, you watch any of these social media posts from Jason Tatum over the last, 3 months, it feels like he's maybe ahead of schedule. He's obviously working very hard. He's coming back, right? Even if they want to hold him back, I think that would be... That's potentially dangerous because you don't want to piss off a player in a player empowerment league where the stars, have all the power. If he wants to come back, he's got to come back. But we're probably looking at March if and when it does happen.
Yeah, you'd think so. Given what he can do now, it's hard not to imagine, barring a setback, that he doesn't get the green light medically in March. And then at that point, it's okay, obviously the team has to give final approval, we're letting you go out there, but to keep him back at that point, if he's doing this much already, you'd think so. But it is fast. I was gonna bring this up to you guys, how much more do you have to see from Jordan Walsh to be you keep him in the starting five when Tatum's still out there, and then move Pritchard back to a six-man role? Is that
No, I was going to ask you because you cover the team more regularly.
Yep.
So yes, I would lean towards that because I think it would give you more balance, and Pritchard can excel in that six-man role, and you have Jordan Walsh out there to give you energy and great defense, which it's interesting when you look at the Celtics. I think that they're a better defensive team than really what the numbers indicate. I think the numbers indicate that they're 18th in the league in defensive rating. But when I watch them play, I feel like they're better than that, in my mind at least. And Jordan Walsh is a big part of that. So I would keep – it's a weird thing to say, but I would keep, yes, when Tatum comes back, I would keep Jordan Walsh in the lineup. How does that work, though, B-Rob, in your mind? And I'm just trying to think – I know lineups in the past, but that essentially means that Tatum's coming back and playing the four. Is that – I mean, I know he's played in the past, but is that better for him or worse for him coming back from an Achilles?
No, I think that's right because, again, when you have Walsh out next to him, I think that takes some onus off of him. Walsh can take some of those tougher matchups for him and do some of the dirty work that Tatum might have to do normally in that four-man role. But, yeah, the good news now, it's you have, Walsh is going to get another 2-3 months at this. And if he can keep up this consistency, I'm with you, I think you keep him in there just to do the dirty work, and then you have the size for the defense. If you have Jaylen, Jason, and Jordan Walsh as your wings, your versatility defensively is going to be incredible.
And also, you have Derek White, who can basically cover 1 through 4. So, yeah, you have 4 guys that are super switchable, and then you have Nimi back there who's been really your best defensive player.
Well, I tell you what, Barnaby, if they hold him back, I would be right cheesed off. This is Oliver and Barnaby here on the Sporting Hub. Well, so concludes the I can't get it out of my head now. So concludes the Sports Hub Celtics show for this Saturday. We'll a long commercial-free segment. We'll go through some spots here, and then we'll get to the top of the hour headlines, and then the final hour will be mostly football stuff. Return to the Patriots with this big game tomorrow against the Buffalo Bills. We'll do all that next here on the Sports Hub.
The Sports Hub Celtics show continues after these. From the Tell Your Time Studios, it's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
All right, ahead of tomorrow afternoon's home game for the New England Patriots against the Buffalo Bills. News today that the Patriots placing running back Terrell Jennings on injured reserve as he is dealing with a concussion. So Jennings out the next 4 games, should return for the playoffs. That from NFL Network. More NFL news. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow made waves this week with his frankly depressing press conference. Today, according to the Athletics' Diana Rossini, he does not want out of Cincinnati. He's just tired of losing. And his Week 14 post-game remarks were said out of a